Hello and welcome to Star Citizen Sunday with me, Ryan, aka Sifu Messiah. This is a weekly show which covers everything from the Star Citizen websites over the past week. I shall put links in the description for everything we mention in this week's show. Let's get on with it. So this week we have, as always, the usual 10 for the chairman, and around the verse there's another letter from the chairman as we have reached 61 million, plus many other little posts. So let's get on with it. So in 10 for the chairman this week we were a little late, as obviously Chris Roberts was in Australia and has recently returned with Australian jet lag. He started off with signing all the different citizen cards and all the memorabilia that are being given away for citizens and so forth. And he's also got his own copy of Wasteland 2. Anyway, question 1. I've only picked out some of them, not all of them I don't think. So, question 1. Will pirates have a job board similar to bounty hunters, where you can maybe target the top bounty hunter who are obviously killing all your brethren and so forth? And Chris Roberts says there's a variety of job boards generated by game, like AI, and by player-run organisation. So obviously a factory could require so much, and then a real person could require a wingman. So both aspects of the job, so players and AI will create jobs, and yes, they'll pound that you can post a bounty on a bounty hunter. So, because you can put bounties on anyone, if you're a bounty hunter, you can have a bounty put on you still. Whether or not you'd claim your own bounty on yourself, I don't know, probably not. But Chris Roberts explains how there's this thing called Uber, or UberX, I'm not sure. It's something in America where if you do something for someone else, you can rate them using an app. So, like if you had a car and you wanted to be offering a service like a taxi, you can offer that out, put it on this app, someone hires you. If you were any good, they would rate you. If the passenger was unruly, you can rate them badly and so forth. So it's going to work like that. If you hire a real person, they'll come on, you can say this person was good. If he tries to steal your ship, then afterwards, if you manage to defend, or if he does steal it, either way, you can then post a review about him saying that he stole my ship, he's a wanker, don't hire him, basically. So there's going to be a good review system for, I think, both AI and real players, which is completely unique to games. And he says that it'll work the same for merchants and mercenary guilds. He's mentioned before this rating system. It's not new to us, but if you're new to the game, it will be new to you. But yeah, and also he mentioned something about, if you have a job board, it'll be on your Mobi-Glass. If you're part of an organisation or a guild, like a mercenaries, merchant or pirate, then you may need a password or some way of getting into this. So not everyone can access it unless you have a membership, maybe. Very cool. Very, very interesting approach, really. Second question, can we use Arena Commander to test out the big ships like the Bengal carrier before you fly them? Because obviously if you go straight into using a Bengal carrier, you may just crash the damn thing. Chris Roberts says, not the Bengal carrier. Things that size will not be, he doesn't think anyway, playable in the Arena Commander. The biggest is likely to be something like a Corvette, like an Idris, which we know will be one of the test beds for the boarding mechanic. So after that, the question was, will NPCs, AIs, join in and help or oppose whatever the players are doing? For example, if you've set up a blockade, will the AI assist you in this blockade, or will they oppose you? And the way Chris Roberts explains it is that whatever your actions will be, it will affect AI. For example, if a factory requests 10 tons of iron ore, which, and then an AI starts bringing it to the factory and the AI is shot by other pirates, players, whatever happens to him, he gets destroyed, then the factory will obviously not have this ore. And as time goes on, the factory will require this ore much more compared to before. So they'll then hire mercenaries to fly with this cargo hauler to protect him. And this could be completely AI. If no players have taken the job, it can just be AI that do it. And so if they come to a blockade where you're trying to block these people from getting in, then yes, they will try and oppose you. They will the wingmen will try and take you out so that this cargo hauler can get this ore in. Now, by way of helping you, I can't see how that would work unless you hire them. The only way you can actually get AI to help you blockade, to create a blockade, is to hire them for that role specific. I don't think they'll just drive along and think, oh shit, let's just join in the fight, I don't think it works like that. But yeah, so that's basically that. So the next question, are FPS and space battles going to be instanced separately? And no, in one instance, the FPS, EVA boarding, etc., it's all going to be in one. I think he says something like 50 players, an example, in one instance. So if you're flying and you're fighting one crew, someone else can be like on a space station within that instance doing FPS. It's all going to be in one, but then obviously once it reaches that limit of players in in the instance, it will then overflow into a next instance, and I don't think you'll see it there. So next question, can we customize our helmet? Now, yes is the answer. Not so much the helmet, but more sort of equipment and modules you put onto your helmet. Like, for example, he said the personal tactical computer, or a smart weapon that you can plug in, and it'll show up different displays on your visor. So, you know, you plug in your weapon, it'll show you the count, the ammo count, the heat, I expect, if it overheats, and just stuff like that. But you can get different variations. So maybe the personal tactical computer will target people for you, will, you know, send out sensors to see, you know, like a heartbeat sensor, things like that. I'm not 100% sure as to what that's not confirmed, you know, heartbeat sensors. It will be along those lines. Just like the ship, you can plug in different things for the ship. Like he said, you know, like the Aurora, for instance, will only track one target, whereas a Hornet could possibly track 4 at the same time. You can buy a better sort of targeting computer, which will allow a Hornet to track more. You can get different scanners, radar packages, better flight computers. I mean, these are long-term goals, and obviously we'll see so many roll out as and when they're ready, but there's a lot to do for it, and it'll all attach to your person. So you can plug in, you know, a PTC, I like to abbreviate to personal tactical computer, and it'll have different roles, and then you can take it off again and you won't have those things. Very, very cool. I like the idea of that. So the next question, will there be Steam-esque achievements? Now, the only reason I put this in, it wasn't because I thought it was a question that would really relate to gameplay dynamics like I like to include. It's more because he said a little cool aspect of it. And he said there won't be traditional achievements like, you know, bing, you've now killed 100 people, or you've now got 10,000 headshots. You'll collect mementos like snow globes, fish, maybe like an Eiffel Tower or an Empire State Building from Earth, and to display these in your hangars. He also mentioned that if you go through Squadron 42, then you'll get medals, which, if you've ever played the older Medal of Honor games, or even the new Medal of Honor, you get, like World War II Medal of Honor, you used to get medals that I used to love trying to get all these medals, and it's going to be the same for Squadron 42, where you can display them in your hangar. So they're going to be in-fiction achievements, you know, which I think is a lot better. I'm not fussed either way. It's nice to get achievements, but these are a cool little thing. So the next question was, will there be anything to stop Twitch play? Which I've never heard of that before, but apparently it's like COD play, where, you know, if you spin 180, you know, like quick scoping basically. If you shoot across a map and it luckily hits someone in the head, then they die, you know. And I mean, obviously, if in the FPS for Star Citizen, if you manage to get a lucky shot on, if you're just praying and spraying, there is a chance that if you run out in front of these bullets and you get shot in the head, you're gonna die. You know, it could happen, or it maybe ricochets could happen as well. But it's not gonna be a simple sort of. It's not gonna happen all the time. The FPS is designed to be realistic with, you know, the modelling ballistics, the modelling fatigue. You know, if you're out of breath, you'll be weapon sway. He didn't say this specifically, but it's going to be a mix between COD and armour. It's not going to be arcadey like COD, and it's not going to be a complete military simulation like armour. It's going to be a good middle ground, which I think is probably ideal. So the question after that, which is quite a brash question, is, can we destroy planets? Chris Roberts says, not really. Basically, it's unless they create it as in like a game design, so it would be a mission where, well, not a mission, sorry, it'll be like an instance where a comet destroys a planet and splits it into two, which wouldn't happen in-game. It would only happen if they made it happen. If they are going to do that, it'll be long term, and it'll be because something in the storyline of the Persistent Universe, which could be player driven, would have caused that. Next question is, will there be a courthouse and a place to go to trial before you go to jail? And Chris says there's no courtrooms. If you're caught by a bounty hunter or whatever, then it'll sort of fade to black and you'll go to prison. So you're not having to sit in the holding cell in his ship forever. But he will have to transport that person. It'll be like just for instance, let's just say your soul will leave the person in the holding cell and you'll go to prison. But the bounty hunter who captured you will have this physical person in his holding cell, which he would take to a planet. It would be nice to see it where you are still inside the ship prison, but it could be very boring for some people. Myself, I am more about immersion, so I wouldn't mind sitting in this cell, chatting to the guard, trying to get myself freed, or what, you know. I think for the sake of a lot of people being like, well, this is so boring, then it will fade to black and you'll be in prison and probably have to do it there anyway. But he did say there may be a chance of players running things like courthouses. There is actually a legislation thing where if you've got a complaint about a player, instead of complaining on the forums and so forth, you have to go to an organisation, PlanetSide, and report the player, say what they've done, and then maybe the police, I don't know how they'll work it, but this is going to be a player-run organisation. It's set up by CIG. It's not like an organisation that a player has created. They are going to have real people doing this role, which then it may lead on to things like tribunals, and, you know, he did say something about running cities or towns, but again, very far on in the future. So that was it for 10 for the Chairman. He did mention that Volume 1.0 will feature armour for the ships. There'll be weapons, there'll be new systems and so forth. Nothing that we don't already know, but it was just nice to add that in the end. Right, so on around the verse number 20, we were joined again by Sandy Gardner, who's obviously been let out of UE custody, and as always, Ben Lesnick. Now, the first big news he mentioned was that, unfortunately, Eric Peterson has left. We don't know what he's left for. He's probably gone to another job, or you know, we don't know, but it was sorry to see you go, Eric. We enjoyed you while you were here. So, news from around the verse, moving on very quickly. Arena Commander. So there's been lots of balancing in the UK. I assume it's for ships, ship weapons, ship systems, etc., ready for Squadron 42. Server optimization research has been ongoing, which is very good, very useful, especially for when we all get into the persistent universe and there's hundreds of thousands of us all flying around. We need that to be optimized. The Origin 315P, it says on the Thursday that it was being implemented in testing, but now it is out, so if you've bought yourself a 315P, you can fly it in Arena Commander, so give it a go, tell us your thoughts. Right, so Persistent Universe. The design has been created for jump point scanning and navigation, which sounds very, very cool, and we'll get to see some art of jump points very soon, Ben says in the very near future. So the Revel & York and AeroView hangars are now set up for room systems, where we get different rooms. I think there's like an armory and everything else, you know. I think they did say there's going to be a simulator room as well, which is where your simulator ship, like mine is currently, because I've got the Aurora LX, it's currently the Aurora Marquis. That will be in there, which it'll be nice to separate them from the usual rooms, you know, from the main room. They've created the inventory for the first shop, which is awesome. So now we can, well, soon we'll be able to go in, speak to the shop owner and check his wares and whatnot. Squadron 42, the set piece code has started for 0G. That covered all 0G aspects. I have no idea what set piece code is, I'm sorry. First person AI continues, as always. It's a big job. I expect to have to implement them into everything. Mission 7. The modular layout is designed for Mission 7 in Squadron 42. That's brilliant. So there's 10 missions, I think, to each section of Squadron 42, and we will get the first sections early, I assume, next year, I think it was. So ships. Now, the Starfarer is getting very close, and the sneak peek that we see at the end, which Ben, I think he accidentally points this out to everyone when he's not supposed to, but the sneak peek we'll see is of the Starfarer Cockpit. The Carrick unveiling is coming soon as well, which I'm sure we're all very excited for. The Avenger is flight ready for 1.0, which is coming at the end of this year. Damage states and level of details for the 315P is finished, as we know, because it is hangar ready. It is available to flyable. So, FPS. Prone animation is being hooked up. It's the first pass for the prone animation, which I'm glad they've put that in. Lots of games don't have it, and I think if it's any form of first-person shooter or even shooter, you need to go prone. It's just you're less of a signature, aren't you? So anyway, Breach Assault in the first-person mode is going to be the first, like, the boarding role of it all. I'm not sure if that's the first mode they'll have. You know, like we've got like Vandal Swarm and so forth. Apparently, Breach Assault is going to be one of them. I assume there'll be like your usual deathmatch, team deathmatch, and so on and so forth. So mocap animations, they're putting a list together for all the different animations we're going to see in the game, and obviously what we saw when we saw the FPS demo was not mocapped, it was just your standard. Well, I think it might have had some mocap to it, but it wasn't proper hooked up mocap animations. It was a bit linear. They weren't very in detail, were they? They moved a bit like he needed a poo still. So the most valuable post with Will was called the Hype Citizen video. Now I'll put up the video. It's basically someone's put together. I'll put a link as to who it is as well. Has put together a little video just to hype up the game. So all the cool little bits, and it's very cool, very cool. All stuff we've seen before, but they've put it in a different routine and it looks amazing. So, Bug Smashers with Mark Bent. It's to do with radar signature systems, and it was still targeting enemies behind objects when it shouldn't. The targeting system should stop. It should not be able to target them because they are behind an object that you can't see them. But while he was talking about this, you could see there was like infrared targeting, electromagnetic, cross-section signatures, lots of different signature details there. And I think this is for the next Volume 1.0 patch, so it's probably not something we've really seen yet. But yeah, so it's quite a long episode. If you're into all that tech side of things, I would be if I understood it, but I don't, so I don't really pay too much attention to that. I just get the gist of it. James Pugh interviewed Darian Vorlik and took questions from the community for him. And then obviously the sneak peek was the Starfarer Cockpit. It was only in white boxing. I don't think there's any textures, any really colour to it, but it does look very cool. You've got like 3 seats up front and then 2 at the back. It's going to be very fun when you're in a crew and you're having to, one of you goes off and checks the cargo in case you're being boarded. Because now, this is completely nothing to do with Around the Verse, but when you see this boarding ship, the details of it, where you can sneak up to ships and then board, probably without them even knowing, you're going to have people in your crew walking around your cargo bay, or walking around the whole ship, just checking that nobody's bloody boarded you. At first I was a bit pissed off because I thought, well, I want to know if someone's trying to board me. But then, if you're the boarder, you want to be as stealthy as possible. So I think it's really cool. You'll have to have some crew either dedicated to checking the full ship, or maybe rotate your crew roles. Because I don't think everyone would want to do one specific role when they want to be the pilot, maybe. So maybe an hour on, an hour off. I know if I commanded a ship, I'd have the pilot, the navigator, and so forth, just taking it in like maybe hour sessions or 2-hour goes, in game time. But yeah, you'd have to have someone making sure they walk around the whole ship and then report back anything they see. Because if they see someone cutting a hole in the side of your ship, you want to know about it. But yeah, anyway, that was it for Around the Verse. A very quick bullet point round. Nothing more to say. So, we reached 61 million, and that grants us a new letter from the chairman. These letters are coming so fast. He can't even keep up, apparently. But yeah, with 61 million, it'll unlock the Aspera Prowler, which is the boarding craft. This means that the next ship for 62 million will be the Starliner, which I think is the sort of passenger ship. So, I think we're halfway there already. It's crazy. But yeah, the next one after that, for 63 million, I believe, will be a new third starter ship, which was the previous rollout of ships that we had, where you could pick one again. They brought back the old options. And instead of just showing us what the third starter ship will be, so the first choice, called the Drake Dragonfly, and I'll read the blurb. It says, "You don't so much as climb into the Dragonfly as you put it on around you. In short, it's the closest thing to strapping an engine and a weapon mount to your spacesuit. Or, as the advertising campaign claims, it's the closest thing to riding the vacuum yourself. Occupying somewhere in the Pantheon between a snub fighter and an Aurora, the Dragonfly is speedy, manoeuvrable, ultralight, designed to be cheaply constructed in large numbers and to be readily customized by hobbyists. Dragonflies have become the favourite of a particular brand of enthusiasts that frequently gather together to share their modifications, off-track race, and other less legitimate hobbies." Now, that to me doesn't sound very appealing. Next one, the Aegis Terrapin. A literal tough nut to crack, the Terrapin is most heavily armoured of the base-priced spacecraft on the market. Originally designed for long-range survey missions in dangerous star systems, the Terrapin's design philosophy involves wrapping the ship in additional layers of armour and reserving a significant amount of engine power to host the large shield generators in its class. Terrapins are popular among private miners with an equipment amount and a large storage hold that can be converted for valuable minerals. Now that to me, I like the sound of that because I want to be a miner as part of one of my roles. The next one's an Anvil Hurricane. Some ships avoid damage encounters with speed, some with stealth, and others with maneuverability. The Anvil Hurricane's philosophy is that it should be able to blast anything that gets in its way out of the sky. The Hurricane won't win any races, and its electronic signature won't let you sneak behind enemy lines, but it features a wide array of fully customizable small bore weapons, plus the ability to customize weapon types in several ways. Hurricanes are often used by military squadrons or militia squadrons and private organisations seeking to add a heavy to their lineup. Interesting, but it just sounds like a huge gun. MISC Reliant, with the success of the Freelancer Built for Life campaign, MISC has moved to join RSI and consolidated in the single-seat introductory Starship arena. Their Silver Bullet, a starter ship with more than one seat, and their ace in the hole, Jan technology, where the Aurora is a pure utilitarian platform and the Mustang is a delicate, manoeuvrable personal transport, the Reliant is MISC's most Jan tech-heavy ship to date, featuring impossibly sleek lines, 2 separate crew seats and a vertical fuselage design. The Reliant's streamlined cockpits glow with some of the finest Jan technology available. That again sounds quite interesting. I apologise for my reading, it's quite early in the morning and I have not had enough coffees yet. But it sounds good. I like the idea of that. I like the idea of having a 2-seater ship. Yeah, interesting. But yeah, so basically you can choose which one you want to see, you vote for it, and the one with the most votes, as always, wins. It doesn't mean to say we won't see the other ones in the Citizen universe, it just means this is the first one that's going to be released as a 3rd starter ship. So that was the letter from the chairman, let's move on. Now, last week there was a post regarding lag, the gravity generators that are going to be seen in ships, etc. And it was more of fleshing out how it's going to work. So this is Lore Builder, as you know now. And I wanted to update you on all this because last week I gave you the post then, and now it's changed somewhat because of the conversations and the discussions they've had with community and probably people who know what they're talking about. We've moved on from gravitons. Although the name sounds cool, using actual hypothetical elementary particle is looking like it's going to bring a lot of preconceived science baggage with it, which is what they've said. So they're going to come up with a new element for the generator to create. I'll just read as it says, because if I try and dissect it in a more manageable way, it will make no sense. So the first post was, one place we may look for the source of this new particle is interspace, the area between jump points. The new science needed to make artificial gravity could be a direct result of the discoveries made traversing through jump points. Interesting. The next post was, a lot of people suggested we stay away from the term piping. They're leaning more toward conduits and nanotubes, as well as the neat idea of incorporating some particle accelerator technology to control the movement of the particles. So again, it's getting very detailed and involved. Another suggestion that we will continue to consider is having the particles suspended in a liquid-like goo, which could make some fun moments when the lag systems get damaged. So I expect it'll splurt out this goo stuff and you've got to float like past it. A bit weird. Anyway, next post, having the plates emit lag is one specific design seemed very useful, and we liked the way this could possibly tie into tractor technology if we needed it to. We could also have rooms where the artificial gravity could be switched from surface to surface, which is a very cool idea. It would be very good for training. If you've ever seen Ender's Game where they have to go in that room to practice shooting and stuff, it'll be kind of cool like that, where every now and again the gravity will switch from one platform to the next and you will have 2 teams trying to fight it out. I think that would be a really cool way of training. So the designers are having fun with that idea apparently, and since the fields are contained, it would also be possible to set up rooms where they are orientated in different directions. For example, bases in space would not have to all be built on just one plane, which would be very interesting. So you could, a bit like Dead Space in a way where you have to go onto different parts. So it was also mentioned how the delay in the lag system combined with the unidirectional emission would help explain the artificial gravity is impractical to use as a counter to the effect of increasing G's during flight. Also, something we saw mentioned was the idea of using 2 plates to contain the field, but they decided against that because it wouldn't really work. Plus, obviously, with having, with tractor beams and so forth, it would be difficult design to do that. So yeah, that a bit of an update there on the way they're going. I hope you understood it. The way I probably read it didn't help. I'm interested in this. It's very detailed, and again, it'll play into gameplay extremely. Where if you're trying to board a ship, they can turn it off. They can probably switch to the roof gravity, which will have you bouncing up and down in the areas. But I don't know. It's an interesting post. Let's move on. So, also this week there was a new fan spotlight, which was Music Volume 3, and there was 4 fan-made tracks with, obviously inspired by Star Citizen. There was a new Plain Truth with Parker Terrell, which is called Empire Incorporated, which is another fictitious fictitious posts about a corrupt government and trying to rebel against them. Chris Roberts has been invited to DICE Summit 2015 in Las Vegas. Now, this is the development of interactive entertainment. It basically stands for design, innovate, communicate, and entertain. And he's been invited to make a speech. So I think it was details on how to go there if you're interested in getting there. There's a new galactic guide, which is about a company called the GNP, and they are responsible for high-grade equipment like sensors, engines, navigational markers, piping control surfaces and software, etc., but never any weaponry. They rebel against producing weaponry. Also on the new law builder, which we talked about, the lag system, was they're on call for clothing companies. So if you've got any ideas, is it high-end clothing, low-end clothing, how exclusive are they? Any ideas you have, put them on there, you might see them in the game. Towels are now $20 each, and the Connie models are now back. There was a new post about the 315p being now flyable, and a post about the Arena Commander patch 0.9.2.1, which has been released, basically for the 315 to be implemented, but also there was some issues, some fixes and so forth. And the final thing was subscriber flare. Now, I know last week we mentioned that there was something to do with set drunk level, which is a clue, and as we thought, there was like a little mini bar where it's like a liqueur cabinet. So far I'll put it now, as you can see, I've tried drinking as many as all of them really, and so far I haven't managed to get drunk. So he's obviously got a very strong mind, strong stomach to alcohol. Right, well that's it for Star Citizen Sunday this week. Nothing too exciting really happening, but there were some interesting points. So I do intend on doing a star guide for all the systems, the importing, the exporting, the crime, everything involving the systems, so stay tuned for that. Don't forget to subscribe for next week's Star Citizen Sunday. Like the video if you did, comment if you have anything to say, share it if you will, and I shall see you in the verse.